People hopping in the chat, hopping on the live stream here.
Okay, here we go. Bones gets busy. Joker does that MVP thing. The Nuggets bounce back. This is Locked On Nuggets. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Sorry, Corey got me with the first comment in the chat.
Just right off the bat. Just right off the bat, Matt.
Adam either got a haircut or he's been wearing a hat.
You want to know? Here's the thing about Corey. I both got a haircut and have been wearing a hat. So 2 for 2.
Your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us part of your day and making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Glad to have you with us on this show on a Wednesday after the Nuggets get the national television win over the Los Angeles Clippers, 127-115. They shoot the lights out. They gave up a high number. I want to talk about the defense a little bit because I actually thought the defense was better than the numbers reflected. Lots to get to. We're going to talk about Bones. We'll talk about Joker. We'll talk about the Clippers approach. We'll talk about Cousins, and we'll talk about trust, which I got a great quote from Michael Malone about, and just all sorts of stuff about this game. And then the final segment, it's time for, I just think we'll just make, occasionally we're going to have Nonsense Corner, which is the third segment, and it's about whatever non-updates we're getting from the team regarding the status of Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Close loss by Anders on the parlay. Okay, so the Nuggets break their 2-game losing streak. Malone said after the game that he said, I didn't know if we win, but I knew that we would play with more urgency tonight. And he was right. They came out with a lot more urgency. Joker was like flying up the floor. He beat Zubac up and down the court tonight. It's interesting to look at this game from a number of perspectives, considering the possibility of a play-in matchup, which again, want to be clear, the Nuggets win keeps them in the 6th spot. They will face the
Suns.
In the
6th spot. They currently hold the 6th spot.
Yes, keeps them in the 6th spot. Keeps the Wolves in 7. They're not in the play-in as of right now. The Wolves will play the Suns tomorrow, and then the Suns will play the Nuggets on the back-to-back on Thursday at Ball Arena. But from the perspective of this matchup, there's a bunch of stuff in this game from a Clippers perspective that you can kind of tilt your head at. And some of the Clippers writers like commented on this stuff about they tried super small ball. They went like super ultra, super mega tiny. They tried Covington on Joker. They played very differently for most of the game. Now, I will say this. Somebody was asking me on Twitter, they're like, why aren't they doubling Nikola early on in this game? And I said, because they're probably going to wait to see if they're in the game later. You don't show the double until late, and then you switch
some teams
up.
do. Some teams do, but you're right. Go ahead.
Just, sometimes you're right that some teams do, but I think with the big key here is you want to switch. If you really want to get them discombobulated, you want to switch up the looks, right? Is you want to show them one thing, and then immediately like change it up and play super aggressive and try and get him off kilter, and that's how you create turnovers and swing the momentum and then get the Nuggets tight and you close the gap and you win the game. Like you just sneak one out. I'll talk about Marcus Morris in a little bit, but some interesting rotation decisions throughout this game. And you felt like the Clippers didn't play their best defense in this one in terms of what they can. Tell me more about that.
Well, I think, first of all, to set the stage for this, if you just look at the standings, obviously the Nuggets have a lot to play for, and they may be in the play-in. I mean, I think it's close to 50-50 when you look at the schedule about whether or not Denver will be in the play-in. The Clippers, a little bit less so. Like, they have no chance of catching up to the 7 seed. So they're either going to be the 8, the 9, or the 10, and they're pretty comfortable. Now, at this game, 3 losses ahead of the Lakers. So their magic number is pretty, they're pretty – I'm not saying they're 100% safe, but they're pretty safe that they're going.
Yeah,
that they're pretty locked in. So they don't have a lot to play for. In pregame, Ty Lue was asked about like, hey, you might match up with the Nuggets in the play-in. Do you want to show everything? And his answer was, what do you think? Is in like, of course, like I'm not going to show everything because yeah, we might match up with this team. We'll throw our best punch when the best punch is needed, which is not tonight. Tonight they guarded Yoke the dumbest way possible for the first half. Honestly, especially for that first quarter, just in this like, hey, let's see if he can beat Zubats and Hartenstein one-on-one. Well, we know the answer to that. And he put up monster numbers in that first. I do agree with you. I think it was one of those, if you're in the game, let's experiment. Let's throw a bunch of things out there. And if we're in the game late, let's try to front and try to do some different things. And they had success doing that. The worst stretch of Nuggets basketball tonight was when they went to the defense that the Nuggets have struggled with over the last 2 weeks. So that's why, to me, I'm encouraged by this win. It was great to see everyone play well. But part of me is like, I think the Clippers know what makes it most difficult for Denver, and Denver didn't necessarily do anything tonight that made me think otherwise. Well, what are we doing here, dancing?
Just flipping us around a little bit, just switching it up on a late night. So I agree with you in large part. I think, like Zubac playing 17 minutes in this game, I think is pretty indicative of kind of like where we're at, right? I'll also say this, though. I think he wanted to try and see what he could do with Covington at 5. I think he wanted to see like how that matchup would go. And
Totally.
Joker, he had some good moments, but Joker also really did some damage, especially passing, because they did have to bring the double. Like, they had to bring the double. Terrence Mann said after the game, we did find some things that worked. And that's all he would like say about it. And like, I get it. They play the hybrid zone where they fronted and then had Zubac like zone over.
Yeah, they use this. This is like kind of like Boston. You use your center not on Jokic, but you use him as the doubler.
Yeah. And there's stuff to that. I will also say the Nuggets had a few wrinkles in there for them tonight. They struggled on the first one when Jeff Green was like, no, go on this side. And then they just got bogged down. The elbow pass didn't work. Like, they had some problems there. But then they started moving Jokic off ball and just like, all right, we're just going to have him cut and we're going to do a back screen. And then he's just going to catch the ball on the move. And that's a pretty effective tactic. Like, that honestly was a pretty good counter. Like, I think it's good for the Nuggets to get a few reps against those things to know exactly like how to beat it. On the positive side tonight, the ball was absolutely popping. Sure. Like, and it wasn't, I'll say this, I sometimes get frustrated that Denver will just pass sometimes, where I'm like, okay, I get it. You guys want to move the ball. You've had 3 looks here. You don't keep shopping. You got a good price on this shot. Take it, right? Like, you don't keep looking for that bargain bin. The better shot. Like, you got a good shot, just take it. I thought that they moved the ball with energy. I thought that they found quality looks. I thought that they shot the ball really well. Like, shot variance is part of it. And the Nuggets definitely got the shot variance tonight. The Nuggets got a good whistle tonight and good shot variance. And this game was still close in the end, which shows you, I think it shows you how good Ty Lue is a coach. I think it shows you like how good the Clippers are as a team. I think it shows you some of the weaknesses of the Nuggets. But I thought the Nuggets as a whole played really well tonight all the way through.
The other side, I mean, you're right. You could play this game all the time. I say on the other side, Terrence Mann had a bit of an outlier game. I mean, he was 7 of 10. He was pretty on fire. He got to the line 12 times. So there were some like outlier performances on each side. But here's the thing: you're going to think I'm such a maybe contrarian here, Matt. But the same way I talk about how turnovers are often the symptom of something else, sometimes the ball popping is also the symptom of multiple things. And one of those was, yes, an unselfishness tonight with the Nuggets, but I think it was also a little bit of that, what we're talking about. There is a style, the Nuggets can get the ball popping against certain things if you're locked in and if the team's playing connected, and if you're able to get the ball where you want it to, which Denver was, especially in that first half. It was a little bit more rag. So I just don't know if I'm taking the full victory lap of, hey, Denver got the ball pop and they did this or that. The one thing I will say, though, just to swing back the other direction, I do think that the team played more focused tonight than they have in the last couple games. They were more intense. They were more dialed in with their effort, although I don't think dialed in with their execution. But oftentimes it's like you got to be dialed in with your effort a couple games in a row before the execution catches up.
I also want to say this because, like, I spent a large part of Twitter today commenting about how the Clippers are under 500 and we're falling all over ourselves about them. But, like, they're a team that knows what they're doing. Like, their effort, like their floor is very high to me. Like, their guys are all professional. They know how to play. They develop guys like Coffee, Boston hit some tough shots, which I'm sure you loved. Coffee and especially Terrence Mann, like those guys play well. Nick Batum like did things. Their floor I think is very high. Like their execution level is higher than a team like the Rockets or the Hornets, right?
Sure.
So I still think that there's something to the fact that Denver was able to move the ball, and especially I'll say this: if the Nuggets had been sloppy the way that they have been so often, and those turnover problems, that's how you put the Clippers in a position where it's like, oh hey, we could actually steal this one, right?
Right.
Versus them trailing by 12 the whole way.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
From that perspective, I think they did a really good job. It's interesting because you look at it, Terrence Mann had a huge game tonight. Clippers shot 49% from the field, 31% from three. They put up 115 points. I'll just say this: I really like the Nuggets defense after the first quarter. I thought the first quarter they were, and it was really Malone gave a great detailed answer tonight. He must have really enjoyed this win because I asked him a question about like the multiple efforts. I didn't even ask him a scheme question, and he gave me the scheme answer. Malone was just giving out gifts after the game. He gave me 2 diamonds in post game, and one of them was he talked about how in the first half we were really struggling because we decided to play at the level, and they were hitting the trigger motions every single time, and like that was my big takeaway. Is I was like, you're giving up a lot of corner 3 attempts.
By the way, you know who is really good at that? Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein,
nice plays on that roll tonight.
Really good. The Nuggets should have kept him. So like they executed that really well, and the Nuggets were giving up corner 3s, and the Clippers weren't hitting them consistently, right? And so that saves you. But if you let them keep getting those shots, they're going to. So in the second half, he goes to drop, which typically I'm like screaming about. But the way that he explained it is he was like, look, we wanted, Reggie Jackson didn't have it, and we wanted to make them make those tough shots. Like that's what we wanted to get them into and take away. Like don't let them get trigger motion, ball pops, easy action corner 3s. And the Nuggets made so many more rotations. So many times this season, a guy will get either beat on the perimeter and just let the guy go by and it's a layup, or they're scrambled and they're flying by. And you've talked about this a lot before where you're like, look, you can close out hard, but that's not always the good option. If you fly by, that just means that somebody else has to rotate over, and now you're completely out of the play, and it's 5-on-4. Their rotations were tight. They helped the helper. There wasn't miscommunication on a lot of them. They made a lot of really good rotations. The starters, I felt especially in this game. I thought the defensive effort was really high late in this game. Will Barton checks back in, and he's matched up against Terrence Mann, and I immediately am tweeting like, "Well, this is going to get bad." And I did nothing, but I watched Barton on those plays till the end of the game. I watched every possession.
This is the fourth quarter you're talking about.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, you got it.
I was going to say because I actually think Barton had a really bad third quarter defensively, but he did in the fourth quarter refocus or regroup or whatever.
Yeah, he goes back in versus man, and I thought he was going to just get destroyed. And I watched him, and he just shadowed him. He didn't ball watch. He didn't drift. He stayed in contact. He was making constant checks. Like he was helping over to make sure that the driver wasn't able to get the far left to go to the floater, but he was also like staying home to not allow the 3-point shot. Like Barton stayed connected. He had big shots. You had Aaron Gordon, who gave them fantastic minutes inside. Just that dunk at the end was just hellacious.
That was ridiculous.
The save, right?
Yeah, that was a good heads up play.
And like Malone said this after the game, he said, we got a tired group. And I'm going to get into like what the context of what he said that about in the second segment. But he talked about like their entire group. Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, bad 2 weeks. But they needed to get this win. And even if it wasn't against the Clippers fastball, they still got it. And I thought that it was a really good performance by the whole team, the starters included.
Yeah, I mean this was a get right game for sure, and it was against a good, not great opponent. But you can't really complain. I just don't want to get too high on it. Of like the Nuggets are back, they've proven they can beat the thing that we were worried about. Like this was they really needed a stabilizer, and more than anything, I wanted to see that the team sort of had like belief because I mean let's be honest, there's been some bad reports lately, like disappointing reports. You wonder where their like motivation level was, and tonight I thought this was a team that looked very motivated. And I was like, okay, that's good to see.
Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll get to the other big story from this, which is, of course, national TV bones, or as
Woo, boy.
mentioned on the DNVR postgame show, TNT bones.
TNT bones.
We'll get to that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I got to tell you about Bet Online. It's that time of year again. This college basketball tournament is finally here. Had an okay weekend. Had some hits. Had some misses. Really had a lot on the South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
Jackrabbits. Yep.
And my wife was very excited. I said, I lost money on this. And she was like, yeah, but you're not going to say hippity hoppity around the house anymore. And I was very hurt. I was very hurt by that comment. But I did hit a parlay with Duke and the Razorbacks money line. So hit that. Woo pig. I think the Razorbacks are going to hang with Gonzaga. Maybe I don't know about the spread, but they're going to hang with them in some aspect. I don't think they're going to win. It should be a fun another weekend of the tournament. Those games are a lot of fun to bet. And you can do it all at Bet Online, your number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. They remain the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Not just basketball, they've got you covered for all your sports wagering information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. I had one big bet tonight, which was I bet on the Milwaukee Bucks because Mike Budenholzer is now 48-7 straight up versus division teams. Mike Budenholzer is my spirit animal coach, Adam, because he's an awkward guy that succeeds, but always you're just kind of like, but is he really good? I feel very strong connection with Mike Budenholzer, and he got the job done and covered again versus the Chicago Bulls and what probably seals up the division for the Bucks. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Also want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by the Athletic Greens Company. I told you about my brother-in-law's reaction the other day when he was at my house and had a scoop of the Athletic Greens powder, and he said, this tastes better than all these other supplements. It's got kind of a tropical taste to it. It's absolutely delicious. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It just is going to make you feel better. You're going to feel healthier when you get on Athletic Greens. Special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. So make sure to check it out at athleticgreens.com. That's athleticgreens.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for making this part of your day and your first listen each and every day. Make your second listen Locked On Now. Just got nightly recaps of all the NBA games from our panel of hosts around the league. Check that out wherever you get podcasts on YouTube. It's Locked On Now. Joe says there's a big discussion going on in the comment section on our live show here, which you can check by subscribing to our YouTube channel. I feel like Matt is a goggles guy at the gym. Yeah, when I played, I was a goggles guy.
No way. Were you really?
Yeah, I was a goggles guy, 100%. Absolutely. I tried to pattern my game after Horace Grant. I don't know if you know this, but it didn't go well. So let's talk about Busy Bones. I'm just going to start betting on Bones props every single time that they're on national TV, because this guy, if he knows that the country is watching, Bones just turns into Hugh Jackman. He's the showman. Like, he just wants to get in that center of that circus and put on a show. It's crazy that he's taking these 35-foot threes. I want to applaud myself, Adam, for my growth as a basketball consumer. Not once tonight did I say that's a bad shot. Not a single time. They went under the screen. I knew that he's got that range, and they hit it over and over and over again. Mo Daigle, who does great work over the Athletic, was commenting, he's like, why is Covington going under these screens? And I was kind of joking. I was like, it's like Iguodala did in his first season when he played Klay Thompson, where it's like, most of these guys, they don't do the scouting reports on the rookies. And so they're just going to have to learn who these guys are. A couple will probably play him better next time, but boy, Bones just absolutely lit him up. Step backs, the moves that he put on everybody, just a fantastic performance by Bones Hyland, who continues to show that he is going to be on some level an important part of Denver's future.
He's just got so much stuff, man. He's just got a lot. I mean, he's been. You saw the stat today that I just loved, which is that there's a decent chance, I would say maybe even a good chance, that he finishes the year with the most 3 points made of all rookies. I mean, he's 4. I think he's 4 right now behind Jalen Green, and Jalen Green, averages fewer per game. So, That would be a cool thing. I think it would be really cool if Bones led all rookies in 3-point shots, and his shots he's been on fire lately.
He's going to prompt more tough decisions, I think, from Denver. Just long term, looking at the roster construction, you have to kind of be like, we have to have minutes and a role for Bones, and he's going to have the ball in his hands because he just makes things happen.
I don't think that's a hard call at all. I think first of all, you get a player for 4 years on a rookie contract, and next year will be his second. I just feel like there might be a hard call to be made later, down the line, but I just feel like right now it's only good options. Either you stick with him and he becomes such a big part of this team and he's really solid and he's firmly in the rotation next season, or I'm sure he's the type of player every team would want should you decide that you want to cash it, go all in or something for next year. And so I actually think it's a very easy decision with Bones. He's been that good.
Yeah, the only thing I kind of mean by this is like if Bones needs to be your backup point guard because he's so dynamic, and Monte Morris is your backup point guard, and you're getting Jamal Murray back, it's like it's an interesting, I think. Although I guess Monte is good enough, I think, at playing off ball that he could probably just play floor general, bring up the ball, and then let Bones cook. That's probably.
I honestly think I like Monte and Jamal together. I like Monte and Bones together. I'm sure I'm going to like Bones and Jamal together. I just think it's a 3-guard that they all fit together, thankfully. So I just think it'll work.
Cousins had a few moments where I thought things were going to go sideways, where I thought, like, is this going to be a bad Cousins game where he mopes and is upset? And instead, I thought he really reined himself in and played very well. The jumper was clean. He powered inside. That dunk that he had where he shook Cove, which
great.
Cove had the craziest night. Cove made one of the best blocks of the season on Aaron Gordon, and he gave up more points on the play. And then Cove had some great defensive sequences, and then also got shook by Boogie. It was just an all over the place night for Covington. I thought Cousins played very well. I also thought it was really great that Cousins picks up a tech, John with the bench, Dante Jones, and then just as there's another incident and things are starting to percolate a little bit, and you could tell that Cousins getting and yapping, and there's some talk going back and forth, and Malone immediately gets Jokic back in. It honestly seemed part of it was just I got to get Boogie out before he picks up another tech and gets ejected. But I thought Boogie did a very good job of bringing the right energy tonight. He did not bring the negative energy. I thought that was very key for them.
The one tech was kind of a bummer to stop getting techs, but outside of that, he had some really big moments, both halves, first half and second half. He had some big moments. The Boogie Bones thing is funny, man. They kind of are a nice duo.
Yeah.
Bones has had a good duos with a lot of people, including Bull of all people. So I think Bones is a guy that when players fit with multiple types of play, I'm like, yeah, that just means that guy knows how to play. He knows how to fit with multiple skill sets.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's interesting that both of them just whip passes. That's all they do is neither of them throw normal passes. It's always slinging one over their shoulder in some design. That pass that Cousins had to the opposite corner was
that was A+
phenomenal.
Pass, that was the best pass tonight.
So great. Was it? Because the Jokic no look underneath of Jeff Green was the one that I just lost my mind on in the third quarter. That one was one where I was how reserved I try and be in the press box. I try and set the example of we're not supposed to react, and I was whoa.
Yeah, I will say that one was more spectacular, but the degree of difficulty of the Boogie one was just, it really was. I hate to say this because I'm not trying to always give Jokic credit for something. It was Jokic-esque, those where you got a double team and you're kind of on your back heel and you somehow put the ball in such a perfect spot. It was a really great pass.
The reason that Boogie had the better pass than Jokic tonight was because he made a pass like Jokic. That kind of sums it up. You know what? Here's a weird one. Austin Rivers was a -12 in this game. I thought Austin played fantastic.
I did too. I did not know he was a -12. That's crazy.
I thought Austin played great.
He was good. He was good.
Yeah.
He was on the court for a bad run.
Yeah, he was on the court for the bad runs, but there was a rotation actually where they got him going. They had the ball moving, and the Nuggets were making those rotations I talked about where there were multiple rotations, and Austin stopped it. He just caught it, and then all of a sudden they had to reset, and you could tell the Clippers were well, this possession's bust. They were just this is just over. Hit big threes. Everybody hit big threes tonight. Jeff Green hit big threes. Will Barton hit big threes. Monte Morris hit big threes. Just it was a big shots night, which I think is exactly what I think they kind of needed.
Jeff Green had some clutch ones, man. 2
Mm.
clutch threes that really sealed this game. So
Well, it's funny because he was hitting corner threes too, which that's what I've been telling uh, both Ryan Blackburn and TJ McBride all season, especially when he struggled early on in the years. I was like, look, Jeff Green's going to hit a bunch of corner threes in the playoffs. And that's when you're going to be like, oh, that's why they signed him. And he's been way better than that. Like Katie Winger reported tonight, he's had the most dunks in his career this season.
it's so insane. That's so crazy, man.
Crazy.
Well, you have that. You have Aaron Gordon. Was he shooting 80% at the rim this year? And then last year, Jamal Murray shot 80% at the rim. Like this it's kind of wild. Like Denver struggles. It's funny because a lot of teams like have, good shots, bad shots, medium shots, and then they score what, a little mix of that. I feel like the Nuggets get like great shots and they just don't make a ton of like like when they do beat you, they beat you with backdoor cuts and dunks.
Yeah. Which does not bode well for the playoffs, but that's a worry for another time. I want to talk about this specific sequence. So it's a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter. And the Clippers rattle off a 6-0 run. It's 9:50 in the fourth quarter. Okay. Lead is 6. Jokic is at 27 minutes. Okay. I've asked Malone before about that moment, because he's waited until like the 5-minute mark to get him in. And he said, I just should know better by now. I got to get him back in and not allow it because, I think we can stretch it out a few more minutes. And that was what I was concerned about, is I was like, you leave Joker on the bench, and this could be a 3-point deficit by the time that he gets back in, and the momentum is toast.
Momentum is the big thing. It's not the 3-point. Like if you have a 3-point lead when he comes back in, you can be okay with that. It's did you just blow a 10-point lead or a 12-point lead?
Yep. And at 9:50, he takes timeout, and he comes back out with the bench, except that he puts Will Barton back in.
Yeah.
He puts one starter back in, and they go back up to 12. And they managed it. And I asked him about that after the game because I was curious. I was like, look, you've said, in these spots. And he actually made a really good comment. And what he said was, look, trust is something that we talk about, but you can't just say that. He's like, I've been around teams that just say that. It's just a word. We trust each other. We trust each other. We trust each other. You have to show it. You have to prove it. That's on the player, but that's also on me. And he said, sometimes what that means is, even if I'm nervous and even if I'm concerned and even if they fail before, I have to trust them. And I decided to put the trust in him. I put Will back on to give him a little bit more length. And they were able to get it done. And it was a really good performance. And I thought that was like, now, that's the kind of thing that Malone can say tonight because they didn't lose this game.
They won, yeah.
Right? And he got Joker back in at the 7-minute mark, right? Like he doesn't wait till 5.
That's the thing, is I will say there is a difference between 7:30 or whatever it was and 6. It's a minute and a half, but it's a big difference.
It's huge. It's just like, it's huge. And so there's this balance that I think that he's trying to negotiate. And I thought I just thought that the way that he explained that was really interesting to talk about. Sometimes in order to get that trust from them, you have to be willing to give them that trust and be like, I'm going to stick with you. And he says Cousins has been playing good ball. Bones has been playing good ball, and those guys have been in those big moments before.
There's nothing worse than when a coach yanks you whenever you make the first set of bad mistakes. Some of this stuff can be overstated, showing trust or this or that. Some of it's a little overrated. But the one thing is if you play bad and you get yanked immediately, it's in your head, man. It's in your head. You just go out there every time being like, don't screw up or I'm out the game. The one thing I'll say about the timing, though, my whole thing with Malone has been, one, I hate him waiting till 6 minutes. You got, especially down this home stretch, you need every game 7-8 minutes, somewhere in there. I just think okay, Yoke's probably going to end up having to play 35, 36 minutes, one or two more than his season average, 34, 35, somewhere in there. But more importantly, I wouldn't mind him taking him out a little bit earlier in the third and putting him back in a little bit. To me, that's the thing I just think might make the most sense. Letting Yoke play the final 8 minutes of the fourth quarter to me just would seem like a win.
Well, what I will say is he has started pulling him out instead of having him play, because he's experimented with him playing the entire third, and he's pulling him out at the 2-minute mark now. So that gets him a little bit more rest. But I just thought the dynamics of that quarter were really interesting. And again, it could have gone another way, right? You've talked about how the Clippers may not have thrown their fastball tonight, but I think all of that is really interesting. It was a lot of fun at the arena. It was a good atmosphere. for a late night weeknight game. Those aren't always as good as you would want. It was really good. Nuggets brought the atmosphere. The play was really good. I do want to mention that after telling Ohm from ESPN that the Clippers would have, quote, beat the shit out of the Nuggets if it hadn't been in the bubble, Marcus Morris, who everyone's familiar with. Just want to go ahead and go over this real quick just to list the stats there. 6 of 16, 14 points. So 14 points on 16 shots. 0 of 6 from 3. 3 assists, good for him. A -7 and did not play in the final stretch of this game. So Reggie Jackson did. Reggie Jackson tried. Big government tried to take it home. Not his night. Tough night for the Clippers. I have a lot of sympathy for Reggie Jackson, but yeah, tough sledding there for big tough guy Marcus Morris. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the comments. Are already talking about all the Jamal and MPJ stuff. We'll get into all that nonsense. And can I vent? Are you going to be okay if I vent?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll do that.
It's 1 in the morning. Why not?
If it's 1 in the morning, what else we got? Let's do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I want to tell you about Rock Auto. You know, there's all these different types of makes and models, and sometimes if you go into a big parts store, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions about exactly which model you got, and then they're going to have to be like, oh, well, I've got it for the SX, but I don't have it for the SL, so I'm going to have to order it from the SL. Or you can go to the store that's in Broomfield where Adam lives and pick it up. And I'm going to be like, no, I'm not going to where Adam lives. I would just go see Adam if I was going to Broomfield. I'm not going to this parts store. So you don't have to waste time with that. Just go to rockauto.com. It's in at your computer, at home, or in your pocket on your phone. Either one. You get to save time and money at Rock Auto, a family business that's been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. You're not going to get hosed there. They got everything you need from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-use website today and find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How'd You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
Matt, you said that you were up. Did I not do this right? Is that not shared on the screen?
You have to click the little button here.
There it is. You got it on there. You were saying you were a goggles guy back in the day. You can't really tell. I was a headband guy, believe it or not, back in the day. You could barely see.
This is amazing. Go to the YouTube page right now and check this out.
That's why I did it. It's a nice little YouTube page. You got to go. But look at that form. Beautiful headband. Just absolutely stunning.
You look so nimble.
So skinny.
It's amazing. I didn't say skinny. I said nimble. You have to check that out. Go to the YouTube page and check out what Adam looked like when he was he's still
high school. That was a high school ball.
When you were in your prime hooping days. Adam, by the way, texted me. We were talking about how late this game is, and he was like, all right, we should do like a 25-minute show when we get home. And now we're at 32 minutes because I'm like jazzed. Like, this game was really interesting to me. In a game that Adam's like, yeah, the Clippers basically didn't try. So here I'm just going to talk for a little bit. All right. Pre-game, I was not there. I had a show that I had to do for Action, so I was late. Here is what Michael Malone said pre-game. He said, asking about like the potential matchup of these two things, like, yeah, there might be some surprises in terms of who's like, what would be surprising is if PG and Jamal were there. And it was like, I was like, wait, what? Like, it would be surprising if Jamal Murray was back for a potential play-in game versus the Clippers. So there's that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then during the broadcast, Chris Haynes reports that MPJ has had, quote, ups and downs and is behind Jamal Murray in his recovery process. That Jamal Murray is closer to returning than MPJ. And Malone has made it sound like Jamal is not close. I will tell you this, like, Jamal came out for pregame shooting, which I will just mention. I haven't talked about this. Jamal didn't come out for about a month for pregame shooting, and we like took note of it, but we're trying not to make a big deal out of everything. So you don't want to
never know what that means, but
yeah, it could be he's upstairs. The Nuggets have practice court on the second level of Pepsi Center. Don't try and get in there. You can't. The elevator doesn't work. And so he could just be up there doing it pregame, right? So he comes out tonight and he's shooting around with Will Barton and they're just kind of messing around. And then he starts going through like a shooting drill, but he's not jumping. He's just doing like two-legged shots. And Harrison Wind from DMVR, check it out, DMVR.com, and I are like, he's not jumping. Like, what is happening? And then by the end of it, he's jumping and he's taking like kick out fadeaway 3-pointers. Like, okay, looks a little bit better there. And then after the game, Monte Morris says that Jamal's looked awesome.
No. Magnificent
In the warm-ups. This is my rant. When you do not provide information, you're going to get speculation. When you do not provide information, you're going to get vague reporting because nobody knows what to say about what. Lonzo Ball suffered not a setback, but a plateau. He hit a point where he wasn't getting any better. And so the Bulls shut him down for a week. And Billy Donovan came out and said, we're shutting Lonzo Ball down for a week. He hasn't gotten where he needs to. He hasn't suffered a setback, but he's not where the recovery is. So we're ceasing activities for a week. And there's a press release, and that's how it goes. When Klay Thompson goes to Santa Cruz to warm up, they send a release and say, Klay Thompson has been assigned to Santa Cruz Warriors for rehab. I'm not asking for a lot here. What I am saying is that you, the fans, want to know very badly what the hell is going on with MPJ and Jamal. And everybody wants to know what's going on with MPJ and Jamal. And there's been reporting done by Mike Singer. There's been reporting that I've done like in bits and pieces. You've talked to people. Harrison's talked to people. Everyone's talked to people. But no one seems to agree on any one narrative. And it may just be that this stuff is very messy and confusing. But if that's the case, you got to parse it down and at least set some sort of expectation. Because where we're at right now, I think this contributes to the very atmosphere that the Nuggets want to avoid. The Nuggets don't want it to feel like everyone, what they want basically is for everyone to be like, if they come back, great. And if they don't, great. That's what they want to have happen. That's never going to happen if you don't set any sort of like realistic timeline, expectation, or anything. If you say like, hey, Jamal Murray's just probably not coming back this season, guess what? You can change your mind. I'm just going to be real about this. Maybe that's the concern, that the Nuggets are like, well, we don't want to say that he's not coming back and then have people not buy playoff tickets and then he comes back. You're not going to have a problem with playoff tickets, or you're just like, well, we don't want to jerk the fans around. No fan is going to be upset if you say that Jamal is out and then he's suddenly in. If you say he's in and he's suddenly out, that's a problem, right? I'm not suggesting you do that. But at some level, there needs to be some clear confusion or clear information here. Because what I've heard today is that Jamal is ahead of MPJ, who's been up and down.
That was a real surprise to me. That's the piece of this that was surprising.
And Jamal has looked magnificent in workouts, but also it would be surprising if Jamal was back for a potential play-in game in a month.
Yeah. Here's one thing I just want to address. Somebody asked, do you think the front office is keeping them out against the players' wishes? I do not. I feel pretty confident that is not, there's not some like Jamal's trying to play in the front offices or coaching staff or ownership or somebody is telling him no. I feel pretty confident saying that's the case. Here's my thing, man, because I'm with you. Like, this tight-lipped stuff is so weird, but even though it has been the MO for 7 years, the entirety of the Malone era, this has been the MO, but I mean, it's not going to change.
Further.
Even going further back. Like, and also, by the way, this is not just a Nuggets thing, although the Nuggets are as bad of an offender at this as just about anyone. But here's my thing. This is honestly where I think I'm landing on all this, because I don't know. I genuinely am not saying this to try to tell you guys like, oh, I have certain pieces of information or this or that. I wonder if they just don't know. I wonder, this is such a delicate thing between, what does it mean to be cleared? What does it mean to, what does the player want, this or that? I just genuinely wonder if the team's like, we don't know, man. Like, we don't know. Is he close? Is he far? Are they close? Is so-and-so coming back? And I also wonder, like, Chris Haynes is his own reporter. I mean, he's like a Woj or like a Shams. I kind of wonder if it's like, depending on who you talk to, you get a different answer on different things.
Yeah.
Meaning, whose agent did you talk to?
That's how I feel.
And I honestly think that's what it's at. So I don't know that this is the organization is keeping things tight-lipped to this or that. I just feel like they probably are in a position where they're like, I can't tell you. I can't tell. We're all there's so many variables at play that we just don't know if either of these guys are or are not coming back, are or not close, etc.
And like, I've tried to be sensitive to that delicacy. Like, I'll just tell you, like, I'm privileged in that way, right? And that I'm not like I'm an analyst. I'm not a newsbreaker, and so like I'm not beating down doors here, right? Like Singer had the most comprehensive work on it, which was like Jamal's 50-50. Like think about that. Like the beat writer had the most comprehensive report on it, which was 50-50. Like I just think at some point, I guess here's the other thing is Malone has set a tone that we should not expect them back. Like that's the tone that Malone, if you look at the cross section of comments that he's made, Malone has consistently said, has given the indication that they're not coming back. Now Malone has reason to do that because like he's protecting the players, right? Like he's making sure that there's not. He's never going to come out and be like, yeah, I really wish that we could get them back on the court because I think they're ready. That's like the opposite of what you want to do as a coach. I get that. I do think that some stronger sense of communication would clear up at least some of this, even if it's just like when MPJ when they were considering sending him to Grand Rapids, right, which was reported by Harrison.
I was going to say, you just gave the shout out. I think actually on the Murray stuff, Harrison has actually been on the ball. He both had the first Grand Rapids thing, the second Grand Rapids thing, and he had Michael Porter not participating in it for his own reasons. So I just got to give a shout out to my colleague. He's been pretty plugged in on this one.
I also had the MPJ not going to Grand Rapids. It's fine. It's fine.
Both of my colleagues. I
no, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not hurt. But like, even if there was just like a statement that says like MPJ has been cleared to resume basketball activities, his progress will be evaluated. Blah 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 blah. Even if with Jamal it was like he's resumed 4-on-4. There are plans to ramp up in X days. The problem I get that they don't want to do is they don't want to be like, well, it may take longer than 7 days, and we don't want to put a timeline on it. I get it. I just the time crunch is real here, and that sucks for them. Like, look, this sucks for the team, and I'm not inconsiderate towards that. Like, this is hardest on Jamal, and it's hard on the team, and it's hard on the whole apparatus. But what I do think needs to be conveyed is that I do feel like the fans, more so than on other teams, have not been given information which leaves them with any sort of like idea of how to wrestle with this season. And I think that's what we're seeing, right? Yeah. Like half the fan base is like, look, I just don't think they're coming back. So like let's just make the best of it and get out of here.
More than half the fan base is arriving there. I think that's like becoming, I honestly think like this is part of why this last 2-game losing streak prior to this was so tough, is it was all coming at once. The like Murray pessimism, Porter pessimism, and blowout loss. It was just like all at once. And it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's like a lot of this is that, you know, the fan base is really like, they don't know what to think right now. Half the fan base is like, man, if we can just get those guys back, like the team is good enough, like we can make a run. And then half the fan base is like, this team is not good. This team is not good. And if we're not getting those guys back, we should just be packing it up and be ready for next season. And it's hard to tell where the team is at on some of that. Like I wondered before the game if that was like part of what had gone on in the Boston game, was that they were just like, man, we're just not going to be able to get it done this year. But then they came out tonight with a lot more verve. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the playing the psychology of an entire team is just so tough because I don't know. I like I will say, I do think it's tough because this whole season has had it could end up being a bit of a red herring season where we're all waiting for a thing that actually just never was going to happen to begin with, or ended up not happening at the end, or whatever the case may be. So there is a bit of that feeling of letdown, but at the same, I would not rule out Jamal Murray returning. I would not rule out Michael Porter returning, but I would say that it's less likely than I thought it was maybe a week ago, even 2 weeks ago. And I think that there's always all the questions that were surrounding them just become bigger questions at this point. Can they be integrated in time? Are they going to be a positive impact? When would they return? All of those different things. So the Haynes report tonight was so weird. The weirdest part about the Haynes report is just the Michael Porter part, because we've heard behind the scenes stuff about Jamal Murray. I just haven't heard much about Michael Porter other than I've seen him play and move, and he looks great.
Yeah, so that was what I heard. Was like, looks moving better, seems happy, like excited. Who knows? But anyway,
there is one team out there that has it worse than Denver in this regard, though.
Who?
Did you see Zion Williams between the leg off the backboard dunk today?
No, I missed this. Oh my God.
You missed this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got to pull it up for you because this is just a tweet. So I got to pull it up because you're going to laugh so hard when you see this.
He did a what?
If I can, you're going to love this one. Is this up? Is it on the screen? Do you have to share this? Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
This is Zion.
What? What?
And this is today. This was today. So
This is this would be like if Jamal if there was like video that surfaced that like Jamal was dropping 40 at Rucker. Just like Jamal like walked out and like just hitting hezzies and just like lit up Rucker and then walked and then just like, oh no update. Tough.
Imagine also just like what if Zion came back too? We're talking about MPJ. Like imagine Zion's back and now the play-in features LeBron scoring 35 a game and Zion, and you got Kawhi Leonard back, and the play-in in the Western Conference can end up being better than the playoffs this year.
The Kawhi stuff was crazy tonight too because Haynes reports that PG started 4-on-4, that they think that Norm Powell's going to be back this season. No update on Kawhi, and then Skip Bayless, who's like the number one Kawhi fan, is like talking about how he's going to be. It's like, my head's going to explode. And that's before I do all the magic numbers. But anyway, it's 1:00 in the morning Mountain Time. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate it. You guys tuning in late night. Love that so many people are in the chat hanging out with us.
Good chat today.
Make sure to check out the YouTube channel. You can check out all these videos and the image of Adam as a youngster hooping. Make sure that you guys subscribe, tune in. Want to let you know that on Thursday, I'm having Zach By from 104.3. He hosts the Mile High Hoops podcast. He's going to join me this week for the special guest episode. Good dude. Loves talking hoops. We're going to talk all about this team. Maybe we'll have some more information. We'll see. Appreciate you guys joining us. Hope you guys enjoy the win. Nuggets take on the Suns on Thursday. Until then, we'll talk to you guys again next time